All right, thank you. Thanks to the Wyoming Blockchain Stampede for inviting me to talk. Today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about Shardus and what we do. But first, I want to say good luck to all the participants in the hackathon, and best of luck with whatever cool project you're building. Just 1 second so I can turn down the volume on this other computer. There we go. Great. So, you guys are young, talented developers, and, you're working on building cool technology. Just want to remind you that technology is what really changes the world, and how what you build and how you build it is going to impact the future. And we're at a very critical time right now in the future of humanity, where currently we have a lot of really big global problems around the world. And I have a list here of some of the biggest global issues, from what the UN says. And if you look at that, you're going to think to yourself, well, these are way beyond me. How am I going to help solve any of these kind of things? But technology is what eventually will help to solve these big issues. It's not just, it's not the government or the politicians. In fact, even despite that, technology still manages to move everything forward. And one thing that you won't see listed here, and I've never seen it on this kind of a list, and which I think is one of the most critical things which should be on these lists, is really how money works and how the money is structured and the form of money we use, right? So one person that has opened my eyes to that is Ron Paul. And he's always been an advocate of how in order to fix the economy, we really have to fix money. And if you go back to that list of things that are big global issues, I feel that a lack of a global, inherently stable currency is one of the key things that is preventing us from being able to solve a lot of these problems. And we've been thinking about this for quite a while. And in 2011, we realized that having a sound money is really important, but also that we could have a sound money without actually having it tied to something like gold. And what we really need in order to do a sound money system like that, which is stable, is it just needs a couple of very, very simple rules. One, which is to create the money, you can just distribute it as a universal basic income, and you can reduce the money supply by using a small demurrage, which is like about 2% per year, to reduce the money. And if you think about what happens to that money supply, basically anybody's balance would really just be the amount of UBI they receive daily minus their balance times the daily demurrage rate. And eventually you'll see that the UBI amount and the demurrage would equal each other, and somebody's balance would reach some sort of a equilibrium. And the total money supply would just be the number of people that are receiving the UBI, or basically the number of people in your participating in your economy, times the equilibrium value that each account could reach. And so with that, you can see that, the money supply can actually fluctuate and, increase if there's more participants in the economy and decrease if there are less participants. So this is a really neat way to have a, monetary system that's pretty much rule-based. And how could you go about implementing something like this? Well, we now have blockchain technology, which can actually help us do that, right? So with blockchain technology, you can create rule-based monetary systems. And, in fact, Bitcoin is not just a coin and a payment network, but it's also a rule-based monetary system where, it has very simple rules for how much the supply will be as time goes on. And if you don't have blockchain technology, the best we can do is, have the type of systems that we have now, which are centrally controlled, monetary systems. So blockchain technology opens up a whole new way of being able to do money and, what form of money we use. Now, there are also issues with trying to use blockchain technology for creating something on a global scale that can handle something like a global currency. So, to begin with, blockchain currently does not scale very well. If you add more nodes to the network, it doesn't actually, cause the network to get any faster. In fact, it actually causes more transactions and network traffic. If the other aspect is that, blockchain currently is not very decentralized, and decentralization is really the most important part of blockchains, right? So you use Bitcoin and all these networks because you trust that, the value that you have stored on that is not controlled by any one person or any one entity, and that there is, no entity that really has control, and it's the rules of the system which will allow you to interact with it. And if that can't be preserved, then, you're back to basically a centralized system. So with current blockchain technology, there's, we started out very decentralized when, like Bitcoin started, but with mining pools, it's kind of evolved more and more towards very few entities having a majority of the control. And the second generation blockchains, that are coming up, they're basically, not even contemplating this, decentralization. They're just starting out saying, okay, well, we're just going to have this group of super nodes and, that are delegated to, mine the blocks and, process the transactions. And so, you might only have like 20 nodes or 50 nodes just, and it's fixed to that. That's a very, big issue. And we really need to go back to what we used to have in the early days of Bitcoin, where, anybody could join a network and leave the network. And, there's a lot of participants. And then finally, with the early generation 1 blockchains, they weren't very efficient. And in some ways you needed that to allow for unbounded consensus and to give, Bitcoin its value. But for a currency that's used on a day-to-day transactions, you really want that to be very efficient in terms of not needing to spend a lot of energy to, maintain the network. And, if it can't do that, then the transaction fees are going to be high, and people will eventually, want to move to a system that has lower transaction fees. So the system would, evolve towards whatever network can provide, the best services to the users while keeping the cost low. So, seeing that there wasn't something out there to implement a, UBI-based system to do something like a global, inherently stable currency, we in 2016 set out to, try to build something like this. And, my background is actually in building large-scale distributed systems. Worked at, NASA and Yahoo and Zynga and various other large corporations, and, helped them build mission-critical systems that have handled millions of, daily active users. And so I came to this space with that background, and, not seeing anybody building a more scalable, blockchain system or distributed ledger system at its core. There's a lot of attempts to do second layer, system improvements to increase scalability. I actually set out to say, okay, what can we do at layer one to increase the scalability? And so one of the key things that we're doing with Shardus is we're using state sharding right at the core. So that basically means that as we add more nodes to the network, it will increase the transaction throughput, and it'll increase the storage capacity of the network. And it'll pretty much keep the network bandwidth constant, regardless of how many nodes you have in the network. The other thing that we're doing with Shardus is we want to maximize decentralization. We want people to be able to use standard off-the-shelf computers as nodes to join the network and process the transactions. And keeping the cost of participation low is, I think, very key to maintaining a high degree of decentralization. And of course, having permissionless networks where somebody is not nominated or delegated to be the only ones that can provide, processing to the network. I think that's very important to maintain a high level of decentralization. And of course, we need to maximize the efficiency. So essentially, we're going to be using efficient consensus algorithms, similar to like the classical consensus algorithms that have actually been around for a long time. And finally, our goal is to make Shardus really, very developer friendly. So we've chosen, Node.js and TypeScript as the language that developers can build, any kind of a decentralized network using Shardus. And another thing that makes a system very developer friendly is the tools that come with it. And so we're putting in a lot of effort to build good tools for the developers. So the use cases for something like this, of course, I've mentioned the global currency, but you can use it for a global identity network. We could use it for a global communications network. Currently everybody's split across many different silos of communication, like WhatsApp, Telegram, so forth, and all of these systems, and not very decentralized, but it would really be amazing to have a single global communication network that was very decentralized. We could use this to build social networks, could use it to build really, really large storage networks, and many, many other use cases. Now, when we talk to people about Shardus, they always want to know, is there a token and things behind this? And, I'll tell you a little bit about it. Of course, this is not any kind of investment advice or anything like that. But we do have a ERC20 token that we use to, with the Shardus project. And we've never done any kind of an ICO or pre-sale. And literally we never directly, the project never sells the token to anybody, but we use our tokens to give to people that are directly contributing to the project, in terms of those that are actually developing the code or doing bounties or contributing in other ways. And those that have earned the tokens, they can go and sell it to friends and families or on a decentralized exchange like Uniswap. So we found that this has been really, really helpful to us. It doesn't waste any time or resources in trying to do fundraising. The system is very fair. Anybody that discovers Shardus and finds the token and sees, what the project is about is able to, buy the tokens if they want it on an exchange. And I think it helps better align the incentives in order to ensure success for the project. And the utility of the token is also something that people are always wondering about. So what can I use it for? So while Shardus is being developed, we create the tokens by giving it to people that contribute directly to the project. And once the software is available, anybody that wants to use the Shardus software, if it's like behind, say, an enterprise and behind their firewall or something, they can just acquire Shardus tokens, submit the tokens to our smart contract, and it would burn the tokens and issue a license token, which proves on the blockchain that you've acquired a license to the software. And then for public projects, they can basically, give the Shardus token holders some coins or tokens on whatever network that they've created using Shardus. And that's a win-win situation because it helps them attract users to their own network, and it helps those people that were early supporters of Shardus receive something in exchange for the support that they provided. And whether anybody else uses Shardus or not, we're definitely going to be using Shardus to create projects from it. So one of the things that we're currently working on is something called Libertas. And so it basically has payments, sending coins between users, very friendly username-based system, so that you don't have to know somebody's direct address. You can just send coins or messages to them using just their username. It has messaging built in, and when you have messaging and coins, it allows for very interesting things like I could set up some sort of a fee that some stranger wants to send me a message would need to pay, in order to put something in my inbox. And then also, the system will allow for crowdfunding of projects that can be built with Shardus. So that's one of the key things for a lot of projects is how do they get started? Where how will they fund themselves? And so this will provide like a DAO where anybody can propose a project, and new Libertas coins would be created to help fund that project. And once that project is live, they can give back their coins and tokens to those that helped fund the project. And it has on-chain governance, so things like transaction fees, the nodes reward for contributing to the network, and many other parameters can be changed by the community so that nothing is like preset. These are all things that I think can be that need to be flexible, because you never know long term what is the perfect system, right? So you need to allow the community to govern that system as time goes on. And Another thing, of course, that we're going to be building is the global inherently stable currency, which is based on universal basic income and demurrage. And that's really the key project that, we've actually built Shardus for. So the current status, the software is still in development, but it's getting there. And, you can go and check it out. If you go to shardus.com/docs, there's some documentation, and you can even, download the software and try it out, and even run a local network of nodes on your laptop, and we even have tools to help you deploy that network on AWS, and you can actually start trying to build networks with it. But there's still, we're continuing to add features to that software and make it more robust. The other thing that we're doing right now is building Liberdis, as I mentioned before, and the testnet for that is up and running, so you can actually go and try it out at test.liberdis.com. And if you're a developer, definitely try it out. Get familiar with Shardus. It's really cool technology for creating linearly scalable, very decentralized networks. And also, you can try out Liberdis and see what can be built, using Shardus. And of course, we definitely need developers to help us in the future to build great technology and, and build applications that the world can use using something like Shardus. So, as developers, you're very important because you're going to advance technology, and technology is what's going to change the world. And if you think about what a global inherently stable currency can bring to the world, it's really amazing, right? So something that's based on UBI and demurrage, that can help with global commerce around the world. It won't matter anymore where in the world you're born, as it is right now, where your opportunities are limited by where you live and where you were born. If we could really have global commerce, the whole world could transact, and the global currency will make that very easy. It'll make borders less important. As I mentioned, it won't matter where you live. You'll be able to have an opportunity in the global marketplace, and that provides equal opportunity for everyone. And also the way this is structured using a universal basic income, it'll be fair for everybody forever, right? It doesn't matter that you happen to be born in 2010s and got to have Bitcoin when it was at a low price. This kind of currency will be fair to everybody forever, throughout history. And it'll lead to less poverty. It'll, lead to less violence around the world. And also it'll help bring in automation, because as the world gets more and more automated, currently our only way of distributing money is through labor, really. Like if you come into this world and you have nothing else, the only thing you can do is sell your labor. But in a world that's very automated, you won't even be able to sell your labor. So we need, something like a UBI type system in order to make that possible. So, again, thanks for everybody that came to listen to this talk, and good luck to all the developers, and I hope you get a chance to check out Shardus. And if you have any questions, you can go check out shardus.com or send me an email directly. And I don't know if we have time for questions. I've taken up all the time, but if I do, maybe I could take one question. Okay, well, I'll end it here. I think my time is over. So thank you very much, everybody.